Hello, hello, hello. I'm Ed Jones II. I am the founder of the Beyond the Field program and an experienced player development professional. This podcast is here to bring exposure to the player development field with the goal of creating generational impact in athletics and other surrounding areas. Thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate you taking time out of your day to spend time with me on this platform. In today's episode, we will continue our series called The Questions of Player Development. I would also like to announce that I am writing a book that will cover these questions as well. We will dive into the questions and their answers after this ad by our sponsors. All right, so today we continue the series called The Questions of Player Development. The past year, I collected a number of questions for my next book that I would write. I decided, why not bring the book to this podcast? Let's make it alive. In this episode, we will cover questions 4 through 6. Question 4, how can someone begin a career in player development? This is one of the questions I get the most in this role in the past 6 years. A lot of students reaching out through social media, preferably LinkedIn or most commonly LinkedIn, different coaches, people just asking, how do I get into this? Now, my entry into player development was a little different than someone who has found out about the position and wants to pursue a career in it. I was a high school coach for 6 years. Coach Tom Herman, who was the head coach at University of Houston at the time, came to me. He knew me through recruiting and me interacting with his staff. He said, hey, I want you to be on my staff as director of player development. Didn't really know what that was, but I got in it. I'm passionate about it and I love it now. So my path's a little different. So I do want to answer this question though, because this is a question I get a lot. So here are my tips to get into player development. Number 1, I would say build relationships with current player development professionals. That's the role you want to get in. That's the space you want to be in. Build relationships with those people who are doing it. You know, I think I look back at my 6 years of being a player development professional, and the people who have built relationships with me have had the opportunity to go on and fill positions. And that's been the greatest thing. And the relationships, sometimes I haven't been able to serve them. I haven't been able to hire them, but they've asked me questions. We've jumped on Zooms. They said, hey, how do you do this? Can you help me with this? I was thinking of this. One thing I always tell people who have reached out to me is, what is your program? What does it look like? What would you focus on? Who and how would you impact, and how would you make that impact, tangible for coaches to see? And so that's building that relationship with those that are in the space helps, because we're always looking for help, but we also want to help those who are looking to get in these spaces. So that's the number one thing I say is build relationships with the professionals that are in that space. See if you can help with any of the initiatives, events, or service projects put on by player development professionals. Now that one's huge. So now it's opening up a little bit. See if you can help. Unfortunately for me, I have not been when I was at universities working, I was never at a place where we can get outside help. We did one time at the University of Houston, but see if you can help. I know universities are all different and how they do things. See if you can help with initiatives or service projects, whatever it may be. But help is needed in this space. Trust me. The professionals that are in the space right now will take help that comes. They need help. So ask and see how you can help. One thing I'm really big on, and something I've done later in my career, is print out job descriptions for positions available or positions that I would like to hold later in life. And so if you're looking to get in this space, I would say print out job descriptions for the positions that are available. Highlight the ones that you can provide immediately. If you got hired tomorrow, you can say, hey, I can provide this right now. I can get on the ground rolling. This is what I can do. You're in an interview. They say, what can you do? These are our responsibilities. You can say, I can do that right now. I have experience in that. Now, the ones that you don't have experience in, I would say spend time learning and researching those responsibilities. Okay, maybe that once again, the relationships you have with the player development professionals that you should have already created, you call them and say, hey, this job description talks about, pro day, reaching out to scout, being an NFL liaison. How do you do that? You get that, you research and you get the information you need for that space to help you with that overall job description. So you're going in an interview saying, this is what I can do. This is what I'm learning about. And these are the areas that I will need help, but I have reached out and am prepared to do what you're asking me to do. Another thing I would say is to apply for the positions when they come available, especially the assistant director positions that are starting to show up. Now that's self-explanatory. Of course, you're going to apply for positions that show up. What I think and what I would say, and I'm a big believer in people setting goals for themselves and knowing what they want. But even in saying that, I think it's wise to, if you're getting into the space, to look for assistant director position so you can help somebody, so you can see what it looks like to direct a player development department. Now, if a school doesn't have that and you got to apply for the director position, do what you got to do. But if it is possible for you and you have a connection and you have an opportunity to be an assistant director, I would say that would be the best choice if you're getting into it at the entry level, because you can provide support to the person in the director role and you can see how you would want to be supported in that role. And so that's a huge one. But once again, if that assistant director position is not there, hey, you got to do what you got to do, apply for the director or player development position and get in. If you are in an athletic program right now, or athletic department, you're in another, department, maybe you're in marketing, maybe you're in compliance, maybe you're in academics, whatever it may be, and you want to get in player development, go create a relationship with a player development professional that is on your campus. Go do it. It is easier. Going back to what I said earlier about helping, it is easier to help when you are already in the athletic department. There's not as many, red flags or red tape, whatever you want to call it, as people know that you already are an employee of the athletic department. So if you're in there, you're in marketing, maybe you're in, I've, seen people transition from strength and conditioning, ask questions, get with that professional and see how you can help. Once again, help, they will take help. Help is needed in that space, and they will take it. Research what programs are doing. I think there's a lot of information on social media. The places I've been, we put out a lot of what we did in player development on social media. And, that's more to not only, give our players kudos, but to let parents know what's going on, but also let recruits know this is how we impact you, the community, and how we will impact you once you're done playing the game, And so there's a lot of information out on social media. Go research the program and go research what they do. I think Ohio State, when I first started doing, they were doing real life Wednesdays. They still do real life Wednesdays. Go research that. There's a lot of people that do certain things. Clemson does an incredible job. Their Paul Journey, their business week, go research that. Research what people are doing. Michigan State, my guy Darian Harris there, they're doing an incredible job with, I believe it's called the overtime program. Go research what they're doing. My guy, Kevin Washington at the University of Texas, doing a Forever Texas program. Tobrick Blaine, TB at San Jose State, doing the Beyond Football and Beyond Sparta program. There's a lot of information out there on social media, be it Twitter, LinkedIn, for you to find out what people are doing in player development and see, assess what they're doing. Why do you think they would do it? Why is all this programming going on? What goals are they searching? And even, I would challenge you in the most respectful way to see how you can enhance that program experience that everyone's creating at this level right now. So there's no excuse to me in finding information or finding program that's going on. There's a lot more going on. I'm recording right now, so I don't have a list of everybody in front of me. Those are the ones that come up first in my mind. Sorry for anybody if I miss you, but a lot of people are doing great things, in player development around the country. So there's my answer to question 4. I put 2 blogs I wrote in the show notes to help those who have this question. The first is titled Interested in Player Development. Here's what you need to know. The other is titled 7 Things I Wish I Knew My First Year in Player Development. These resources will help those who are looking to get into this role. Let's move on to question 5. Question 5, what skills are necessary for the role? I spoke on some of these skills in the last episode, episode 6, when I talk about what the position can provide for a program. So there will be some overlap in this episode. And if you haven't listened to that episode, please go back and listen. Here are the skills I believe are necessary for the role being player development. The number 1 skill to me is relationship building. I wrote a blog on this titled The One Skill You Must Have in Player Development. I'll put the link to that blog in the show notes as well. But you cannot succeed in this role if you cannot build relationships. This role is all about relationships. You got relationships with players, parents, the high school coaches in the recruiting aspect of that player's journey to your university. your coaching staff, the administration, alumni, the campus, the community, companies you want to work with, you're building relationships every single day. And not only building, you're strengthening those relationships. And so if you can't, or you struggle with building relationships, this role is going to be tough for you. I personally don't know how you could succeed without being a relationship builder. Now, someone could prove me wrong, but I just don't see how it can happen. Relationships are vital to this position. The number one thing, the biggest thing I've enjoyed about this position are the relationships. I've been the lowest of low of one conference to winning the Big 12 championship. I, the one thing that kept me going and sustained me in the role, even being from a place where we didn't win any games to a place where we were conference champion, was the relationships I was able to build every single day. The relationships I was able to build and be a part of. So if you are not a relationship builder, it's going to be tough. I'm going to be honest with you. I believe that is the number one skill needed in player development. Some other skills here, communication skills. You're communicating with everybody. I mean, the players, the staff, administration, academics, recruiting. Just, you have to be great at communication. And if that's something that you need to get better at, you need to get better at it. What I've done over the years, I've listened to podcasts about how to be a better communicator, how to, because you're communicating not only verbally, non-verbally, in person in relation, in person in conversation, but also email. You have to realize, hey, how do I communicate through text messages or whatever it may be, and sending this message out to the players? What's the best way to communicate what I need, or what we need done or what we need the players to do? And so communication is huge as a skill. Leadership skills, you're going to be leading them. Not only are you leading, these players, you're leading the department if you're blessed to have people under you. I've had student workers, interns, but you're leading these athletes, these young people, to the best person that they can be. Problem solving skills, you got to solve problems. If you can't solve problems, it ain't gonna happen. Critical thinking. If you can't think critically on the go, how can we get this done? How do we, once again, this kind of ties in with problem solving. How do we solve this problem while thinking critically? There will be problems that show up. Some are minuscule, but they have to be, we have to think critically about them. Some are greater than others. And it's like, all right, this is going to take some time, but we need to figure out what the best course of action would be. Situational awareness. I kind of talked about that in the last episode. You have to be aware of the situation. You have to be aware of what's going on. What's the best thing for me to do here? How can I service both people if there's parties, whatever it may be? But that situational awareness is key. Anticipatory skills. You have to know what's coming down the line. What's going on campus? What's the trend? What are other athletes saying at other universities? What's going on in the community? What's going on back home where so-and-so is from? We have to anticipate everything that's going on there. You even have to anticipate what will happen with the success or the failures of the year. Okay, we're winning a lot of games. What could happen? What could derail this? Okay, maybe we're not winning as many games as we thought we could or should. What can we do to anticipate? How can we anticipate what's coming next to make sure we don't lose from the main goal, or keeping them away from the main goal? Interpersonal skills, you have to be able to interact with others effectively and efficiently. I think the efficiently part is big, because it's got to be quick. Sometimes you don't have as much time, but you got to get information to someone about a player or a need for the program. You got to do it effectively and efficiently. At the end of the day, with interpersonal skills in this role, you have to be able to work well with others. That's just important, because once again, this role touches so many different areas. You have to be able to work well with others. Flexibility. No day looks the same. Like, people will always ask me, hey, what does your day look like? And I know I ask other player development professionals this also, but there's so much. You have to be flexible. I know one time I was interviewing a young lady to be an assistant, and she wanted a day by day, this happens at this moment calendar of what her responsibilities would be. And I told her, I looked her in the face, said that I don't know if I could provide that in this role. I can say, hey, we want to do this at this time, but we have to be flexible for whatever's happening. Emotional intelligence. I mean, that was kind of self-explanatory there, but you have to be emotionally intelligent. It's a lot of emotions in this role, a lot of external emotions that may come from players, staff, administration, whatever it may be. And then you have your emotions of how, players may decisions they may make, good or bad. You have your emotions. So you have to be emotionally intelligent to, once again, help enhance and provide that structure for the player. Creativity, you got to be creative. I think I've talked about this in blogs. I think I've talked about this before. You're probably going to be, in most cases, a one-person show, and so you have to be creative in everything that's being asked of you. And if you like creativity, find a way, or hire someone or get someone who is creative. But creativity is a very vital piece to this role. Note-taking skills. This is something that has been new to me probably the last 3 years, is the importance of taking notes. And I'm not a big note taker, or I wasn't. I have become a note taker. So it showed you a skill. Tom Herman would always say this when we were at Houston: a skill can be taught. So he would talk about receivers that are fast. We can teach them how to catch. So once again, going back, I originally I thought I wasn't a note taker, but it was a skill, and I learned how to take notes. But it's very important. You're going to have to go back. I do notes by month. And so I may go back or electronically search, okay, oh yeah, this happened. We need this, because the situation, sometimes situations come back that you handled before, or whatever it may be, or that you all solved before. They may come back, or something with a player. He may say, hey, you may look back, oh yeah, this time last year. Sometimes I look at notes from the year before just to be like, hey, oh yeah, this time last year, this happened. So-and-so may have had a loss in the family, and this time reminds him of that, whatever it may be. But note-taking skills helps big time in this role. Listening skills. This is probably the biggest skill that I've gotten better at over my time. I like to talk, as you all probably have figured out by now. But listening skills are important, because there's so much going on. You're providing, your number one role is to provide enhancement structure for the experience of the student athlete. So when you're at a football team, that's 120 plus student athletes in some cases. So you're listening. You have to be a listener. What is going on? What is he saying? And also in that listening, I would put discernment. So as I'm listening, I'm discerning what they're saying, what's going on right now in their life, what's most important. But you're listening also to what admin's saying, coaches. There's a lot, but listening skills are very, very important here. I think about what we tell children: you got 2 ears and 1 mouth, and so that's helped me big time in this role. And one that's underrated, but you definitely built this skill over the last year and a half, are negotiation skills. Yeah, you probably didn't think I was going to say that with skills, but negotiation skills. I read a book by Chris Voss called Never Split the Difference. I think that's a recommendation. He didn't pay me for this, no ad, but if you want to pay me, Chris, I'll definitely take that. But there's a book called Never Split the Difference. I suggest everybody read it. But in this role, you're negotiating for time all the time. You're negotiating for the players' time and the program's time. So you have to negotiate and help players understand why it's important. You're taking time out of their schedule to develop them, but you also, in many cases, have to, negotiate with your football staff, administration, the same reason why I need this time to develop them. And so that negotiation happens more than until I read this book, I didn't realize I was negotiating every single day, because my goal is to develop the player. Now we understand that their schedule is tight. There's not a lot of time. And so you have to negotiate that time between the players, and negotiate that time from admin to get on the schedule to help these athletes. So there's my answer to question 5. I know that there are many other skills that will help in this role, but these are the ones I think are necessary. So please go back, listen to this when you take time, write them down, look at what you're really good at right now and what you can grow at. Once again, skills can be learned, skills can be developed. A lot of these skills that I listed when I first started, they were not in my toolbox, for lack of a better word. But once again, I took time and I got better at them, so that's my encouragement to you, but these are the skills necessary for this role. Let's move to question 6. Question 6, if you were able to hire a staff, what would be the positions and what would be the roles? Now, I haven't had the opportunity yet, but I do look forward to that opportunity one day. I will only speak about hiring a college football staff, as this is the only experience I have. So I know I can't talk about pros or whatever it may be. I can only talk about college football because that's the setting I've been in. So I would hire the following positions. I would have a director of player relations, and their responsibility and just there's a lot, but the main responsibilities would be career and business relations and alumni relations. So they would be dedicated to that. That is when they come in, we would sit down in our team meeting, staff meeting, whatever it may be, player department meeting. Hey, can you talk to us about career business relationships and alumni relations? What's going on with that? I would also hire a director of player engagement. They will be their main responsibilities would be community engagement. What are we doing in the community? How are we engaging the campus? Things like that. I would hire an assistant director of player development who would help with all directors, but would also, some of their main responsibilities would be parent communication and special projects. Special projects may be, career fairs or, internships, externships, things we want to do. I would hire the player development assistant who would be our research initiative person. So once again, we would have somebody that would research the initiatives that are going around the country. I think there's a lot of good work. And one thing that I've enjoyed about being in player development is that we've created a family where we share a lot, but you want to have someone that researches these initiatives, and they also would do administrative operations. And then I would have paid interns and student assistants to handle all duties assigned by the staff. Now, in my role with that staff, I would handle a lot of the external responsibilities given by the administration while serving and empowering my staff. So I would kind of handle the academic liaison, I would handle being the academic liaison and some of the other things that are being asked from administration, different athletic directors, whatever it may be, but that'd be my role, but I will empower my staff. So I'm still helping them with whatever they need. Hey, you have that relationship with so-and-so? Yeah, I do. Let me connect you with them, whatever it may be. So that role that I would have would be like looking over, empowering the whole process there. As I stated, I haven't been able to hire full staff yet, but I am prepared in the best way I know. I wrote a blog titled 8 Quality Skills I am Looking For in a Hiring Process. A link to that blog is in the show notes. There's my answer to question 6. When I am able to hire staff, I will be prepared, and maybe you, yes, you, will be a part of that staff. It's time for the former player shout out. I want to give recognition to those that I've coached or led who are doing great things beyond the field. This episode, I want to give a shout out to Edward Thompson Jr. Ed was a player for us at my alma mater, Hightower High School. Go Canes. He was a captain, all-district player, and a multi-sport athlete. Cautious in his leadership and work ethic, Ed was a consistent example for the players in our program. He was an elite communicator who got the best out of his teammates. After Hightower, Ed went on to play football at the University of Louisiana for them Raging Cajuns. After graduating, he began working in strength and conditioning with an emphasis on speed training. He is in his 6th year coaching and is currently a strength and speed coach at the University of Florida. He has had previous stops at Houston, where I was able to work with him professionally and to see the impact he was able to make on our players, LSU, the New York Giants, Georgia Tech, and then back to his alma mater of Louisiana. Ed, has been great to see all you've done and the impact you continue to make as a leader. As they say, 2 Eds are always better than 1, and I want to give a shout out to the Eds out there. Ed, once again, keep doing what you're doing. I'm excited to see what you're doing, brother. Question of the day. Well, there is no question of the day. We will pick up this segment during season 2. Yes, I have already planned out season 2 and I'm excited about it, but I'm going to keep my focus on season 1. I took the advice of my wife who said, if you're answering questions during the show, why answer more? No, that one hit and I was like, okay, babe, yeah, you're right. And I remember what a wise man once told me. He said, heed to the wisdom of your wife. So I said, you know what? You're right. So there'll be no more questions of the day during season 1 as we answer the questions of player development. Now, with that said, please take time to check out the blogs on the website. I spoke about 4 of them here today in the show. Most recent speaks of the first step in creating a community impact plan. Well, that's all for today. Thank you for taking time to listen. Go follow Beyond the Field on Twitter and IG at BTF_program and on Facebook at BTF Program. These episodes are also loaded into YouTube, so you can find us there. Search Beyond the Field Program and subscribe there. Tag us on social media and let us know what you've learned about player development from today's show. Use #ThePDPod as the hashtag for this show. Go visit the website, btfprogram.com, and check out the resources and the blogs. I spoke a lot about blogs I've written, and I will put links to them in the show notes. Please make sure you go and read them, as they will add greater context to what was spoken about in this episode. Subscribe to this podcast on the platform that you're listening to. Please rate and leave a review of the show. It would mean so much to me. Please, please, please leave a review. It means so much to me. I need to say that again. And for this podcast, so we can continue growing and it can spread to other people so that they can get more information on player development as well. And we all can create this generational impact in athletics. Share this podcast if you believe it will benefit someone to learn more about player development. Next episode, we'll talk about questions 7 through 9, which will discuss where player development will be in 5 years, how can smaller programs provide player development, and developing people for roles at the next level. I look forward to the next podcast. Thank you for tuning in and spending your valuable time with me. God bless you. Have a great day. Go out and create generational impact. Don't wait. Create that generational impact today.